The Turner family manor in Surrey looked like it had been carved from old British wealth. Sweeping lawns, white stone pillars, and a chandelier glowing through the windows like a beacon of exclusivity. Ethan Clark stood outside the gates, adjusting the cuffs of his plain navy suit. Nothing about him looked extravagant, but he carried himself with quiet dignity. Tonight was Ava Turner's birthday, the woman he loved, the woman whose world was nothing like his. He stepped into the manor and felt the shift immediately. A room full of bankers, aristocrats, high-level barristers, CEOs, the old guard of England's upper class. A world he wasn't born for. Ava spotted him and beamed. She ran over and hugged him tightly. "You came," she whispered. "For you? Always." Before he could breathe in a moment, a cold voice slithered through the air. Well, look what Ava dragged in. Liam Turner, her older brother. Tall, chiseled jaw, wealthy arrogance dripping from every pore. The type of man who had never suffered consequences. Liam didn't hide his smirk, nor did he hide the champagne glass he raised as he stepped onto the small platform at the center of the ballroom. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced loudly, "a toast to my sister and her extraordinary taste." The crowd cheered. Ethan relaxed a little, until Liam turned and the smirk sharpened. "Ava has shown the world that love is blind," he continued, "and that standards, can be optional." Ripples of laughter spread across the room. Ava tensed. Ethan's jaw tightened. Liam wasn't done. Let's applaud her bravery for dating a man who, he paused dramatically, comes from Croydon, works a warehouse job, and probably took the bus here. The ballroom erupted. Pure, unfiltered laughter. Elite British cruelty, subtle yet savage. Ava gasped. "Liam, stop." He ignored her. "I mean, look at him." Liam continued. "He's practically a charity project." The laughter grew louder. A wave of humiliation washed over Ethan so violently he almost lost his breath. He turned toward Ava. Her eyes were wet, not with shame of him, but with horror at her brother's public brutality. She touched Ethan's arm. "I'm so sorry." But Ethan couldn't stay. He stepped back, the laughter echoing like 1,000 knives. "Ethan, please." He didn't hear the rest. He walked out of the manor, out of the golden warmth of wealth, into the cold Surrey night. Behind him, Liam shouted one last dagger. "Don't worry, mate. One day you might actually earn enough to stand in a place like this." The laughter that followed was a final blow. Ethan kept walking. He didn't look back. And in that moment, something inside him began to harden, not with hatred, but with resolve. Ethan's flat in Croydon was small, too small to hold the weight of humiliation sitting on his chest. He sat on the edge of his bed, hands shaking as he replayed the scene over and over in his mind. The laughter, the pointing, the pitying glances. He had never felt so exposed, so painfully judged. Ava called him 17 times that night. He ignored them all. He needed silence. He needed to understand how love could sit beside humiliation so sharply. For 3 days, he didn't speak to anyone. He went to work, lifted boxes, scanned inventory, clocked out. Mechanically, but inside, something was shifting. On the 4th day, he sat in his tiny kitchen and stared at his reflection in the dark window. Shoulders slumped, face tired, eyes dimmed. He whispered, "I will never be that powerless again." He didn't want wealth to impress Liam. He wanted dignity. He wanted security. He wanted to become someone whose value couldn't be insulted publicly. He opened his laptop and typed, "How to change your life." YouTube videos, online courses, success stories, coding tutorials, digital marketing, entrepreneurship. He devoured everything. Within a week, he quit his warehouse job. His manager asked why. Ethan simply said, "I'm building something bigger." He didn't know exactly what, but he knew it had to be significant. Ava showed up at his flat later that evening. She stood in the hallway, hair unkempt, eyes red. "Ethan, please talk to me." He led her inside. "I had no idea Liam planned that," she cried. "I was horrified. I tried to stop him." Ethan looked at her, the woman who never judged him, never mocked him. "This wasn't your fault," he said softly. But you left. I had to. Ava stepped closer. Ethan, I love you. He swallowed. I know, but I can't be the man I need to be right now. Not while standing in your world. Not yet. Ava wept silently. He held her briefly, one last moment of warmth, and then she left. Ethan closed the door gently. Then he turned to his laptop, opened new tabs, created a new email, signed up for 3 courses, and started the first step of becoming someone new. Transformation wasn't glamorous. It was brutal. 7 months of working delivery shifts in the early morning, studying coding in the afternoon, and learning digital marketing at night. Ethan slept 4 hours a day. He lived on coffee and determination. His social life disappeared entirely, but results began to appear. He passed his coding certificate. He started taking small freelance jobs, social media management, website edits, branding work. He reinvested every penny. By the 2nd year, he built his first scalable business model, creating digital branding systems for small and mid-sized businesses across the UK. It was slow. It was painful, but the growth was real. He bought better clothes. He gained confidence. His speech improved, smoother, clearer. He carried himself with calm assurance, not arrogance. By year 3, he wasn't the man Liam mocked. He was unrecognizable. Then came the breakthrough. A London tech firm loved his work, so much they offered a partnership deal. Within a year of that partnership, Ethan Clark owned a share of a company valued in the millions. He stood in his Canary Wharf office one winter night, watching snow fall over London's skyline, and allowed himself one long breath, not of triumph, but of grounded clarity. He had climbed out of the abyss, slowly, methodically, ruthlessly in discipline, not in heart. But life wasn't done with him. His phone buzzed. Ava Turner. He stared at the name for a long time. After 3 years of silence, her message was simple. Ethan, everything has fallen apart. Can we talk? His breath caught. He typed back, yes, because fate was beginning its next move. Richmond Park looked different in winter. The trees bare, the benches cold, the air sharp enough to sting. Ava sat alone on one of the weathered wooden benches, bundled in a gray coat, staring at the frost-covered grass. She looked thinner, older, softer. Ethan approached slowly. She stood the moment she saw him. 3 years of distance collapsed into a fragile silence. Ava, he said gently. Ethan, she swallowed, her voice trembling. You look different. So did she. Gone was the polished girl from Surrey Mansions. Her hair was tied loosely, her eyes tired, and there was no designer logo in sight. She looked human, raw, humbled. He sat beside her. What happened? Ava exhaled, the kind of breath that carried years of pressure. It's my family, she began. Everything has collapsed. He listened silently. Liam, he made terrible financial decisions, risky investments, backdoor deals, borrowed money from dangerous lenders. He thought he was untouchable. Ethan almost smiled, not from malice, but from the symmetry of life. Our father tried to cover the losses, Ava continued, but Liam kept spiraling. And now the Turner estate is drowning, assets frozen, businesses failing. The lenders are closing in. She stared at her gloves. We've lost almost everything. Ethan absorbed the words, the winter air settling heavily around them. And Liam? He asked calmly. Ava closed her eyes. Broken, angry, and still too proud to admit he caused this. Ethan leaned back slightly. This didn't have to happen, she whispered. If he had listened, if he wasn't so cruel, if he didn't. She stopped herself. They both knew what she meant. The night at the manor had been the first crack in Liam's polished facade, a cruelty so careless it revealed something darker beneath. Ethan had always sensed it, a man who enjoyed power too much to respect it. Ava's voice softened. I know you owe us nothing, but I needed to tell you. Ethan watched a gust of wind sweep fallen leaves across the frost. Ava, he said quietly, why now? Her eyes filled. Because I didn't know who else to turn to. A raw admission, a twist in fate. Ethan stood and offered his hand. Walk with me. as she slipped her fingers into his. For the first time since the humiliation, Ethan felt the world shift again, not violently, but with quiet inevitability. Liam Turner answered the door with red eyes and a trembling jaw. This wasn't the towering, polished aristocrat who humiliated a man for sport. This was someone beaten by life, shoulders slumped, hair unkempt, and pride hanging on by a thread. Ethan stepped into the once grand Turner residence. The marble floors were still there, but the warmth was gone. No staff, no chatter, no wine glasses clinking. Paintings were missing from the walls. Sold? No doubt. The house echoed with emptiness. Liam attempted a smile. Ethan, mate. The word mate cracked in the middle. Good to see you. It's been a hell of a time. Ethan said nothing. He simply observed. Ava stood behind Ethan, arms folded, silent. I've had a rough few years, Liam mumbled, rubbing his neck. But you already know that. He laughed awkwardly, hoping humor would soften the shame. It didn't. Ethan's silence pressed him harder than any insult. So, Liam said, clearing his throat, I hear you're doing well. Really well. Big business. Investors. London office. Impressive stuff. A familiar twitch of jealousy flickered in Liam's eyes, a habit that hadn't died. But this time he hit it quickly. Look, he continued, voice dropping, I asked Ava to bring you here because I need help. There it was. The words Liam had spent his life avoiding. My logistics company is collapsing, he said. It's the last thing we have left, but the debt is impossible. We need liquidity. We need guidance. We need... He swallowed hard. Someone who knows what they're doing. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Why me? Liam hesitated. He looked at his sister, then at the floor. Because you're the only one who turned humiliation into success. You're the only one who proved me wrong. A genuine confession. The first one of his life. Ava blinked, shocked. Ethan studied Liam's face. Not with cruelty, with precision. This wasn't about revenge. This was about truth. He walked deeper into the hallway and paused beneath the chandelier. The same chandelier that shone above the night of his humiliation. Sit, Ethan said. Liam did. Ava did too. Ethan remained standing, arms behind his back. I'll help you, Ethan said slowly, but not because you deserve it. Liam's throat tightened. I'll help because Ava deserves peace. And because I don't gain anything by watching you drown. Ava wiped a tear. Liam exhaled shakily. Thank you. Truly. Ethan raised a hand sharply. I'm not finished. Both siblings looked up. I will only help under one condition. Liam nodded quickly. Anything. Ethan leaned forward, voice low, articulate, controlled. You work for me. Silence. Liam blinked. W work for you? You step down, Ethan continued. I take over the company. Every decision goes through me. You follow instruction. You put your ego aside. Permanently. A tremor went through Liam's jaw. Ava covered her mouth. This was the first true power shift. The arrogant bully now kneeling in the shadow of the man he mocked. Ethan didn't flinch. He didn't smile. He simply waited. Liam looked at his hands. Shaking, defeated. He swallowed hard. I agree. Ethan nodded once. Good. The room felt colder, not with cruelty, but with justice. The next morning, Ethan walked into the failing logistics company for the first time. The staff watched him curiously, whispering. Two men in suits exchanged confused glances. Liam followed behind him like a shadow. Ethan's steps were firm, deliberate, controlled. He wasn't simply entering a building. He was entering the battlefield of the man who once laughed at him. They reached the boardroom. Documents were already on the long oak table. Ethan didn't sit. He remained standing, commanding the room by presence alone. Let's begin, he said. Liam sat across from him, wringing his hands. The contract was simple. Ethan becomes chief executive officer. Liam is demoted to operations manager. Ethan receives 51% control immediately. Ethan restructures the company entirely. Liam signs away veto power permanently. Liam read in silence, face tightening at each clause. His pride screamed, but his reality smothered it. Every page was a reminder of how far he had fallen. When he reached the signature line, he hesitated. Ethan didn't speak. He didn't rush him. He simply watched him sit in the discomfort he created. Finally, Liam signed. Ethan collected the paper, slid it into his leather folder, and said only, "Good. Now let's get to work." Liam stood. But Ethan cut him off again. "Save your apologies," he said coolly. "Show me with discipline." Liam lowered his head. Ava entered the room moments later. She had been waiting outside. "Is it done?" she asked. Ethan nodded. Liam looked at his sister, shame burning through him. Ava didn't gloat. She didn't smirk. She simply said, "Then let's hope this is the beginning of something better, Liam." Liam nodded weakly. Ethan glanced at him. There was no hatred in his eyes, only measured justice. As they walked out of the boardroom, the staff stood straighter, sensing a shift in leadership. Something sharper, something efficient, something unshakable. Ethan stepped into the sunlight outside the building. The wind brushed his coat. London felt different beneath his feet, smaller, more manageable. He wasn't a man at the mercy of a wealthy bully anymore. He was the man the bully now depended on. And this was just the beginning. Ethan transformed the company with the precision of a surgeon and the patience of a craftsman. Within 1 week, he conducted a full audit. Within 2, he fired 3 corrupt managers. Within 6, he restructured the entire operation, cutting unnecessary costs, renegotiating contracts, and rebuilding the brand's reputation. Every day, Liam arrived to work on time. Every day, Ethan watched him from a distance, assessing, observing, measuring. With each passing month, the company slowly steadied under Ethan's leadership. Clients who abandoned the Turners returned. Investors expressed interest again, not because of the family name, but because of Ethan's efficiency. Ava noticed it too. One evening, she arrived at the office to bring Ethan dinner. She found him standing alone in the conference room, sleeves rolled up, leaning over financial reports. "You work harder than anyone I've ever seen," she said softly. He looked up, offering a tired smile. "I'm cleaning someone else's mess." "But you've done more in 3 months than they did in 3 years," she replied. "You've saved everything." He shook his head gently. "Not yet." Ava stepped closer. "Ethan, you don't owe us this." He met her eyes slowly. "No," he said. "I don't." Silence stretched between them, warm, heavy, filled with unsaid history. "You've changed," she whispered. "So have you." She reached out, brushing his arm. A simple touch, but the air shifted. "Ethan," she said carefully, "I never stopped." A sudden knock on the glass door interrupted them. Liam stood there, his face pale, his eyes unfocused, his breathing unsteady. Ava pulled away quickly. "Liam," she said. He looked at Ethan. No arrogance, no forced politeness, just fear. "Ethan, we got a problem." The problem was worse than Ethan expected. 2 men sat in the lobby, waiting, not investors, not clients, not staff, debt collectors, the kind that didn't wear name tags or smile. Liam froze as Ethan approached them, but Ethan's expression remained calm, authoritative. "Gentlemen," Ethan said, "let's take this privately." He led them into a meeting room. Ava and Liam followed, but stayed by the door. The taller debt collector placed a file onto the table. "Mr. Turner owes a large sum," the man said flatly. "A very large sum, and the grace period is over." Ethan opened the file. Numbers, dates, signatures, ugly mistakes. "Let me guess," Ethan said without looking up. "You were expecting Sir Reginald to cover this." "Correct. That was the understanding." "But Sir Reginald is no longer in a position to cover anything," Ethan replied. The man leaned forward. "And Liam Turner?" Ethan closed the file softly. "I run this company now, and you're in my building, so you answer to me." A long, heavy silence. Ava's breath caught. Liam swallowed. The taller man finally spoke. "So, how do you intend to handle this?" Ethan leaned forward, unshaken. "You'll get your money," he said. "Every pound, with interest." The second man smirked. From who? From me. The room froze. Ava stepped forward. Ethan, Liam whispered. No, don't do this. But Ethan raised a hand, silencing them. I said I would fix this. And I will. The debt collectors exchanged looks, then stood. We'll return in 2 weeks. Don't disappoint us. They left. Ava immediately stepped toward Ethan. Why would you do that? He looked at her calmly. Because the company can't survive with wolves circling it. Liam's chest tightened. You just took on a debt that destroyed my family, he whispered. Why? Ethan stared at the man who once mocked his clothes, his job, his existence. Because I'm not you, Liam, Ethan replied. I don't run when things get hard. Liam lowered his eyes. And just like that, the second major power shift landed. Sharp, undeniable, final. The next days were a storm. Ethan worked day and night, drafting strategies, securing temporary capital, and arranging meetings with potential buyers. The company's future depended on a deal he was negotiating with Hawthorne Logistics, a massive UK supply chain firm. But while Ethan was fighting for the company, Liam was fighting himself. One night, long after everyone had left the office, Liam knocked on Ethan's door. Got a minute? He asked quietly. Ethan nodded. Liam stepped inside and closed the door behind him. I need to tell you something, he said. Something I should have said years ago. He sat down, unable to hold Ethan's gaze. That night, the night I humiliated you, Liam began. I wasn't just drunk. I wasn't just showing off. I was jealous. Ethan didn't speak. You were everything I pretended to be, Liam continued. Kind, grounded, genuine. Ava saw something in you she never saw in anyone else, including me. You had a life that wasn't built by money or privilege. You had a heart. His voice wavered. And I hated you for it. Ethan's jaw tightened, not in anger, but in recognition of something he'd always sensed beneath Liam's cruelty. I broke you that night, Liam whispered. I destroyed your dignity. And you still came back just to save the thing I ruined. He covered his face with both hands. I don't deserve your help, or Ava's forgiveness, or anything. But I'm saying it now. I'm sorry. I am truly, painfully sorry. The room fell silent. It wasn't a performance. It was a manipulation. It was the truth, late but real. Ethan stood slowly. You can't change the past, Liam, he said. But you can decide who you'll be tomorrow. Liam looked up, tears streaking his face. I want to be better. Then prove it, Ethan replied. Not to me, to yourself. Liam nodded, wiping his eyes. As he left the office, Ethan leaned back in his chair. Of all the twists he'd expected, Liam's genuine apology wasn't one of them. The story was shifting again, not toward hatred, but toward resolution. But fate wasn't finished. Not yet. The day of the deal arrived. Representatives from Hawthorne Logistics sat across the boardroom table. Ethan stood at the head of the room. Not Liam. Not Sir Reginald. Ethan, this agreement, he said, will merge Turner Logistics under Hawthorne's network while preserving all existing staff and providing new capital to stabilize operations. The Hawthorne executives exchanged impressed glances. Liam watched from the sidelines, nervous and hopeful. Ava sat beside him, hands clasped tightly. Hours of negotiation followed. Tough, detailed, precise. But Ethan dominated each conversation with poise and clarity. Finally, the Hawthorne director said, We're satisfied. Let's sign. Ava gasped softly. Liam slumped back in relief. Ethan handed out the documents. Signatures were made. Stamps were placed. It was done. The Turner legacy was saved, not by wealth, not by privilege, but by the man they once ridiculed. After the meeting, Ava approached Ethan outside the building. The sun was setting, painting the London skyline gold. You saved us, she whispered. Ethan shook his head. I saved the company. The rest, you have to rebuild yourselves. Ava stepped closer. Ethan, I fell in love with the man you were. But the man you become, he's extraordinary. He met her gaze. Ava, she took his hand gently. Don't push me away this time, she said softly. Not because of the past. Not because of fear. Not because of my family. Her eyes filled with tears. I want a life with you. For a moment, Ethan couldn't breathe. He looked down at their intertwined hands, then at the woman he had once walked away from, and finally at the horizon, the life he had carved out of pain. He squeezed her hand. "Ava," he said quietly, "I never stopped loving you." She breathed out a trembling smile. Liam approached them suddenly, standing a respectful distance away. His expression was humble, the arrogance gone, replaced with sincerity. "Ethan," he said, "thank you for everything." Ethan nodded once. "You've changed," Ethan said. "Don't lose that." Liam nodded. "I won't." The three of them stood together beneath the fading light. Not as enemies, not as victims of the past, but as people finally shaped by truth. Ethan turned to Ava. "Let's go home," he said. She smiled and wrapped her arm around his. As they walked away, the wind carried the faintest echo of a night long past, the laughter, the mockery, the humiliation, but it had no power anymore. The man, who once walked out of the Turner Manor in shame, now walked away in triumph, with the woman he loved and a life he built from ashes. No revenge speech, no cruelty repaid, no destruction, just justice, growth, and the quiet satisfaction of becoming someone no insult could ever diminish again. The story had come full circle, and Ethan Clarke had won.